David Park stood motionless on the desolate plains of Epsilon Prime, the battlefield stretching before him like a metallic graveyard. Alien wreckage and destroyed human equipment created a haunting landscape of destruction. The silence was profound, broken only by occasional sparks from damaged energy cores and the distant hum of cooling plasma weapons. His armor, scratched and dented, told the story of a battle that would be remembered for generations. The young soldier had done what no military strategist believed possible. He had single-handedly stopped an invasion force that had decimated entire planetary systems before reaching this moment. The alien mothership, once a massive technological marvel, now lay split in half across the horizon. Its twisted metal frame resembled a wounded beast, smoking and lifeless. David's tactical genius had exploited a critical weakness in the alien defense network, a strategy so unexpected that it completely overwhelmed their advanced computational systems. During the final confrontation, he had navigated through impossible odds. When his squadron was reduced to just 3 operational fighters, David managed to redirect the enemy's primary weapon systems against themselves. His neuro-linked combat suit allowed him to process information at speeds beyond human limitation, predicting alien movements milliseconds before they occurred. Military historians would later describe this moment as the turning point of the Epsilon campaign. David's actions saved not just a planet, but potentially an entire human sector from complete annihilation. Yet, standing here alone, he felt nothing like a hero. The weight of lost comrades and the brutal cost of victory pressed heavily on his shoulders. His team had been strategic specialists, each selected for unique capabilities. They had trained together for years, understanding that their mission was more than just military, it was about protecting humanity's expanding frontier. Now, most of them were gone, their sacrifice etched into the very ground where they had made their final stand. The alien invasion had been ruthless. Their technology was generations ahead of human capabilities, with weapons that could dissolve matter and shields that could deflect conventional missiles. They viewed humans as nothing more than an evolutionary mistake, a species unworthy of galactic existence. But David had studied them. While others saw incomprehensible technology, he saw patterns. He understood that every advanced system had a fundamental weakness, a core logic that could be manipulated. His approach wasn't about overwhelming force, but strategic disruption. In the critical moment of battle, he had used their own communication networks against them. By introducing a complex algorithmic virus into their primary command structure, he created chaos within their ranks. The aliens, so confident in their technological superiority, never anticipated such an unconventional attack. His neural implant, a cutting-edge human technology, allowed him to process and execute complex strategies faster than any biological or artificial intelligence could react. Each decision was a calculated risk, each movement a potential game-changer. As the dust settled and the first rays of the planet's twin suns began to rise, David reflected on the journey. He was not a traditional hero, no dramatic speeches, no glorified combat poses. He was a strategist, a thinker who understood that winning a war was more about understanding your enemy than defeating them through brute force. The ground beneath his feet was scorched and broken, a testament to the brutal conflict that had just concluded. Pieces of alien technology sparked and flickered, some still attempting to activate their final defensive protocols. But it was over. Humanity had survived. In the distance, rescue and recovery ships began to arrive, their massive engines casting long shadows across the battlefield. David knew his report would be classified, his actions documented but never fully revealed to the public. This was the nature of interstellar conflict. Victories were often silent, heroes rarely celebrated. As he activated his communication device to report mission completion, a sense of exhaustion and relief washed over him. The war was won, but at what cost? The answer would echo through human history for generations to come. In the gleaming royal chambers of the Alien Command Center, Princess Elena Kim stood before a massive holographic display. Her fingers, delicate yet strong, moved across the translucent screen, reviewing battle records from the recent conflict. The room hummed with advanced technology, its walls shifting between transparent and opaque with subtle electromagnetic pulses. Elena was not a typical royal leader. Unlike her predecessors, she had undergone extensive military training and tactical studies. Her royal lineage meant more than just ceremonial duties. She was a strategic thinker, deeply invested in understanding the complexities of interstellar conflict. A holographic display flickered, showing multiple angles of the recent battle. Hundreds of combat records played simultaneously, creating a complex web of movement and strategy. Most leaders would have been overwhelmed, but Elena's enhanced neural processors allowed her to track multiple data streams with remarkable precision. Something caught her eye. A specific combat sequence that seemed oddly familiar. The soldiers' movement patterns were unique, a dance of strategic positioning that triggered a distant memory. She zoomed in, her heart suddenly racing with an inexplicable sense of recognition. The human soldier moved with a precision that was almost impossible. Each step calculated, each tactical decision seemingly predicted moments before it happened. But it was more than just his strategy that drew her attention. There was something about his combat style that felt deeply personal. Elena remembered a moment from her childhood. A research station. A young human boy. A moment of unexpected kindness during a diplomatic exchange program decades ago. The memories were fragmented but powerful: a gravity storm, a potential disaster, and a child who had saved her life. She accessed deeper historical records, her royal clearance allowing her to dive into classified archives from decades earlier. The facial recognition software began cross-referencing the soldier's current image with historical databases. Minutes felt like hours as the system processed millions of data points. A soft chime indicated a match. The system had found a connection, but the details were initially blurred. Elena's hands moved quickly, clearing additional authentication protocols. Her breath caught in her throat as the first details became clear. The soldier who had single-handedly stopped the alien invasion was the same boy who had saved her life years ago. David Park. The name brought back a flood of memories, a young child with kind eyes and an unexpected courage that had impressed even the most seasoned diplomatic observers. Their childhood encounter had been brief but profound. During a joint research mission, a massive gravity storm had threatened to destroy the research station. While adult scientists panicked, a young human boy had helped her to safety, showing a level of quick thinking and compassion that was rare even among advanced civilizations. Now, decades later, that same boy had become the soldier who had changed the course of an interstellar war. The coincidence was beyond statistical probability. It felt like something more, a connection that transcended species, technology, and the brutal realities of conflict. Elena understood the political implications immediately. This was more than just a military victory. This was a potential bridge between two civilizations that had been locked in a seemingly endless cycle of violence and misunderstanding. Her advisors would call it a dangerous distraction. Diplomacy was complex, and personal connections could be seen as a weakness in interstellar negotiations. But Elena knew that sometimes, the most powerful diplomatic tools were not advanced weapons or complex treaties, but simple human connections. A holographic display continued to play the battle sequence. David's movements were like a complex dance, each step a calculated risk, each decision a potential turning point. He was not just a soldier, he was a strategist who understood that true victory was about more than defeating an enemy. As the first light of the alien world's dawn began to filter through the chamber's adaptive windows, Elena made a decision. She would find this soldier. She would understand the connection that seemed to bind their histories together. The royal chambers remained silent, save for the soft hum of advanced technology. But something had changed. A possibility had emerged. A potential path to understanding that went beyond the traditional boundaries of conflict and diplomacy. The Research Archive building stood like a silent witness to history, its walls holding decades of classified information. Elena discovered the first fragments of her connection with David buried deep within forgotten digital records. Each file she accessed revealed another piece of their shared past. 23 years earlier, a joint scientific expedition had brought children from different planetary systems together. The research station, floating near the edge of a volatile gravitational zone, was designed to study complex space phenomena. Most participants were seasoned scientists, but a unique program allowed selected children to experience interstellar collaboration. David, then a 12-year-old human child, had been part of a specialized youth research program. Elena, a young alien royal heir, was participating as part of her diplomatic training. Their initial interaction seemed coincidental, a moment of childhood bravery during a critical station emergency. The gravity storm had been unexpected. Massive electromagnetic waves began destabilizing the research station's primary support systems. Adult scientists scrambled, their complex equipment failing under extreme conditions. In that moment of chaos, young David had noticed Elena struggling near a damaged emergency exit. Without hesitation, he had guided her through a series of complex maintenance tunnels. His quick thinking and calm demeanor prevented what could have been a fatal accident. The station's logs recorded his actions as extraordinary childhood intervention, a bureaucratic description that failed to capture the true essence of his heroism. Elena's royal status meant her rescue was quietly documented but never publicly celebrated. The incident was classified, buried under layers of diplomatic protocols and scientific reports. For years, it remained nothing more than a distant memory. Now, comparing historical records with recent battle footage, Elena realized the connection was more than mere coincidence. David's tactical approach in the recent war carried the same fundamental characteristics she had witnessed decades ago: calculated risk, unexpected solutions, and a deep understanding of complex systems. Her advanced neural processors began reconstructing the memories. She could see David's young face, hear his calm voice explaining complex station navigation routes. He had not seen her as a royal heir or an alien child, but simply as another person who needed help. The Research Archive's quantum database slowly revealed more details. Psychological evaluations from the expedition noted David's exceptional problem-solving skills. One report specifically mentioned his ability to remain calm under extreme pressure, a trait that had clearly defined his later military career. Elena understood now why his battle strategy had felt so familiar. The same intuitive approach he had used to save her decades ago was evident in his military tactics. He did not fight with brute force, but with an almost philosophical understanding of systemic vulnerabilities. Her research team would be shocked. A military victory that seemed like a random technological triumph was actually rooted in a childhood connection. The universe, it seemed, had its own complex narrative logic that defied traditional understanding. The archive's final files revealed something unexpected. During the original research expedition, David had written a simple report about the gravity storm rescue. His description was matter-of-fact, showing no desire for recognition. He had simply done what he believed was right. As Elena compiled the information, she realized this discovery changed everything. Their reconnection was not just a personal story, but potentially a diplomatic breakthrough. Two civilizations that had been locked in brutal conflict might find understanding through this unexpected human connection. The Research Archive's ambient lighting shifted, mimicking the soft glow of distant stars. Memories, once fragmented, now formed a complete narrative. A childhood moment of kindness had transformed into a galactic turning point. Elena knew her next steps would be critical. This was more than a historical discovery. This was an opportunity to redefine interstellar relationships, to show that understanding could emerge from the most unexpected places. The archive remained silent, holding its secrets. But something fundamental had changed. A connection had been restored, a memory reconnected, promising possibilities beyond traditional conflict. The neutral diplomatic station orbited a distant neutron star, its massive structure designed to facilitate conversations between species that had known only conflict. David Park stood on one side of the circular negotiation chamber, his military uniform crisp and precise. Across from him, Princess Elena Kim represented her alien civilization, her royal attire a stark contrast to his utilitarian military dress. Tension filled the air. Years of war had created deep wounds between their civilizations. Millions had died. Entire planetary systems had been reduced to cosmic dust. And now, they would meet face to face for the first time since childhood. Security protocols were extreme. Every movement was tracked by advanced sensors. Neural inhibitors prevented any potential unexpected aggressive actions. The room itself was a marvel of technological mediation, designed to neutralize emotional responses and facilitate rational dialogue. David's hands remained clasped behind his back, a military posture that revealed nothing. Elena studied him carefully, comparing the young boy from her memories with the battle-hardened soldier before her. The transformation was remarkable. Their initial moments of recognition were subtle. A slight widening of eyes. A momentary pause in breathing. The childhood connection they shared hung in the air, unspoken but powerful. Years of conflict and tragedy balanced against a single moment of childhood kindness. The diplomatic protocols required formal introductions, but both knew the real conversation would happen beyond official statements. David spoke first, his voice controlled and professional. "Princess Elena, we meet under circumstances neither of us could have predicted during our childhood encounter." Elena's response was equally measured. "Indeed, Commander Park. The gravity storm that connected us decades ago seems almost prophetic now." Her alien language translated perfectly, maintaining the diplomatic precision of the moment. Historical records meant nothing compared to their personal connection. David remembered helping a scared child through maintenance tunnels. Elena remembered a boy who had shown unexpected courage when adults around them panicked. These memories existed beyond the brutal war they had just fought. The negotiation team watched carefully. Military advisors, diplomatic experts, and communication specialists monitored every microscopic interaction. They expected conflict, preparation, strategic positioning. What they witnessed was something entirely different. David explained the tactical reasoning behind his military actions. Elena listened with a comprehension that went beyond standard diplomatic training. She understood not just his strategy, but the fundamental human approach to problem solving that had saved her life years ago. Their conversation moved beyond the typical diplomatic exchange. They discussed the systemic failures that had led to war, the technological misunderstandings, the cultural gaps that had created generations of conflict. Each spoke not as representatives of their species, but as individuals who understood each other. The station's advanced systems recorded everything. But some connections cannot be measured by technology. Their shared childhood experience created a bridge that transcended official diplomatic language. Military advisors watching the transmission were confused. This was not the confrontation they had anticipated. This was something more complex, more human. A reconnection that challenged everything they understood about interstellar conflict. As hours passed, the initial tension began to dissolve. David's military precision met Elena's royal strategic thinking. They discovered shared perspectives that no one had anticipated. The war that had seemed impossible to resolve now appeared solvable. Their personal history became a diplomatic tool more powerful than any weapon. A moment of childhood kindness had transformed into a potential path to peace. The universe, it seemed, worked in unexpected ways. The negotiation chamber remained silent, holding the weight of possibility. Two individuals who had been on opposite sides of a brutal conflict now sat together, connected by a memory that defied traditional understanding. Something fundamental had changed. Not through official diplomatic channels, not through military strategy, but through a simple human connection that had survived decades of conflict. The stars outside the diplomatic station continued their eternal dance, silent witnesses to a conversation that would reshape galactic relationships forever. The peace conference lasted 3 standard galactic weeks. David and Elena worked tirelessly, transforming a seemingly impossible conflict into a potential pathway for understanding. Their shared childhood connection became the unexpected bridge between two civilizations that had known only destruction. Diplomatic channels, once filled with hostility, now hummed with collaborative energy. The war that had consumed millions of lives was slowly being dismantled through patient negotiations. Each conversation peeled back layers of misunderstanding, revealing the fundamental similarities between their species. David's military approach combined with Elena's royal strategic thinking created a unique diplomatic framework. They discovered that both civilizations shared core values: survival, protection of their people, and a desire for peaceful exploration. The differences that had seemed insurmountable now appeared manageable. The first breakthrough came unexpectedly. During a late-night strategy session, David shared a childhood story about a community project that united different human cultures. Elena recognized a similar tradition in her own civilization. This small connection became a powerful tool for broader understanding. Planetary representatives watched in disbelief. The war that had seemed endless was being resolved through personal connection rather than traditional diplomatic channels. Military leaders who had prepared for continued conflict found themselves witnessing something unprecedented. Communication protocols were rewritten. Trade routes that had been battlegrounds were now being mapped as potential collaborative zones. Scientific exchanges replaced weapon development. The massive resources previously dedicated to war were redirected towards exploration and mutual development. Elena's royal authority and David's military credibility created a unique diplomatic power. They understood the pain of conflict from both strategic and personal perspectives. Each compromise was carefully crafted, addressing the deep wounds caused by years of war. Technical teams from both civilizations began working together. Shared research projects replaced competitive technology development. Space stations that were once military outposts became joint scientific platforms. The transformation was happening faster than anyone had anticipated. The personal story of David and Elena spread across communication networks. It became a symbol of hope, a narrative that challenged everything people understood about interstellar conflict. Children from both civilizations learned about the unexpected connection that had changed everything. Compensation programs were established for families affected by the war. Refugee relocation initiatives began. Planets that had been destroyed were now targets for collaborative reconstruction. The healing process was complex but meaningful. David discovered that true victory was not about defeating an enemy, but about creating understanding. Elena realized that royal diplomacy was more than formal protocols, it was about genuine human connection. Their childhood moment had transformed into a galactic turning point. Military academies began incorporating their story into strategic training. The lesson was clear: understanding was a more powerful weapon than any technological advancement. Conflict resolution became a primary study, replacing traditional combat strategies. The first joint scientific expedition was planned. Ships from both civilizations would explore a previously contested star system. The mission symbolized their new relationship: collaborative, curious, and focused on mutual growth. Technological exchanges revealed remarkable similarities between their civilizations. Communication algorithms were developed to bridge linguistic and cultural gaps. What was once seen as fundamental differences now appeared as opportunities for learning. Elena's royal advisors were initially skeptical. David's military commanders expected continued tension. But the connection they shared proved more powerful than institutional resistance. Personal understanding was transforming systemic conflict. As the first diplomatic agreements were signed, something profound happened. The war that had seemed eternal was being replaced by a new vision of collaborative existence. Two civilizations that had known only destruction were now planning shared futures. The universe watched silently. Distant stars continued their eternal dance, witnessing a transformation that few could have predicted. A childhood moment of kindness had become a galactic turning point. Hope, it seemed, could emerge from the most unexpected places. A single connection, preserved through decades of conflict, had the power to reshape entire civilizations. The reconciliation was just beginning, but its potential was limitless.